This is true, and it is an absolutely real thing. You cannot double dip, and the VA will catch it, right or wrong. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But this happened to a very good friend of mine. He was actually a really good sergeant in the Marine Corps, Iraq, Afghan veteran, even served with MARSOC in a support role, and had a pretty decent career. He was forced out and was offered severance pay. He accepted that severance pay, and when it came time for his VA disability, he did not receive a single cent until all that money was paid back. If you receive severance pay for any reason, the federal government, without a doubt, will take that money back. Now, today we're going to look at an article that I haven't even read for myself yet from NBC, but it definitely caught my eye. And here we go. Government has clawed back more than $2.5 billion given to veterans to leave the military, data shows. Now, there are some clauses in here that's going to change the situation, because I'm going to assume it's really talking about severance pay and then the government downsizing, because it talks like it felt like I would never see the light at the end of the tunnel here. So the Department of Veteran Affairs has clawed back billions of dollars that countless veterans were given as incentive to leave the military, including when it needed to downsize according to new data. Disabled veterans have been told in the last 12 fiscal years to return nearly $3 billion in special separation pay, lump sum incentives that were offered when the U.S. had to reduce its active duty force or release slightly injured service members, the data shows. Since fiscal year 2013, the earliest year for which the VA shared data, this data thing is killing me right now. About 122,000 veterans have returned more than $2.5 billion so far, with about $364 million still left to be recouped, according to the VA. It felt like I would never see the light at the end of the tunnel, said Damon Bird, who struggled to repay the roughly $74,000 incentive he received to leave the Army in 2015. The VA said it's legally bound to recover separation payouts, which is absolutely true. The question is, do you think it's right? Yes or no? From veterans before those eligible can begin receiving disability compensation due to a little-known federal law that prohibits them from receiving both. You can't do it. The obscure law, which about a dozen military law and veterans policy experts said they did not have enough knowledge to weigh in on, has thrown many disabled veterans into financial and emotional despair since Congress authorized it in 1949. Bird, 54, said he and his wife had to leave their rental home in Haslett, Texas, to move in with their daughter in 2021 when the VA began withholding his monthly disability payment of more than $2,400 until he returned to separation pay. That is a lot of money to withhold, man. You know, we're not talking about a couple $100 here. We're talking about $2,400. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing. It seems pretty long, but you get the point, man. You know, I'm not on the fence. I do think it's wrong, but in the VA's defense, they are doing what they're supposed to do. You know, that's just a statement of fact that I really don't like. But what are your thoughts? Do you think the federal government should not recoup separation pay for those who left the military specifically for, you know, downsizing, whatever that case may be, or maybe they were injured and received severance pay, but now when they file VA disability, the federal government is essentially taking that money back. So really there was no incentive. You can't even call it an incentive. You can call it like a 0% interest loan, because we're going to take it back at some points. Many thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts on the VA's ability, really, on what's going on to those veterans specifically who had separation pay and are paying about $2,400 a month, which is a pretty high number in my opinion.